take your order?
May I just have the Chick-Fil-A sandwich meal?
Yes, sir. And what to drink with that?
A Coke, please.
Welcome into Conversations with Paul Brown. We are at the Chick-Fil-A on Greenville Street in Anderson, and our guest is Jon Holmes. He just celebrated a very distinct anniversary, and he's going to tell us all about it. He's also got some plans for the Chick-fil-A's in Anderson, and we're going to reveal that for the first time.
When I was 6 months old, Mom and Dad moved to Uruguay, South America, and so Spanish became my first language. They tried to get me to speak English in the home, because we spoke English in the home and we spoke Spanish outside the home, obviously. And Mom and Dad tried to get me to learn English. I didn't want to learn English, and so I came back to the United States at 6 years of age, and they put me in school, K-5, and all I could speak was Spanish. So that was
He's a gringo that can't speak English.
And so we moved to South Texas for a while. And then Mom and Dad from there went down into Mexico. So Mom and Dad were missionaries for over 37 years. So meanwhile, when I hit high school, I came back to the United States to try to get my secondary education and to prepare for college. Before Dad went to the mission field, Dad was a businessman. And so one of the things that it's taught me was to really be independent and think independently and try to be innovative in my thinking, because the fear of the unknown is not there as much when you're accustomed to being in a foreign country and bouncing from one place to another, moving from one place to another, and so that's one thing that it's really helped me. It helped me adapt. I went to 4 different high schools.
You went to Bob Jones, and you met your wife. Tell me how you met Liz, and was it love at first sight?
Oh, absolutely. I was going to be a basketball coach and a Spanish teacher. So secondary education was where I was planning on going. And I met Liz, and Liz was one of the assistant managers at the old mall restaurant there at McAllister Square in Greenville.
The old Chick-fil-A.
The old Chick-fil-A there. She started talking to me a little bit about Chick-fil-A, and I'd never heard of Chick-fil-A and never tasted Chick-fil-A. Obviously, she was working on Saturdays, and so I decided I'd stop by and see the girl, and so she was out there sampling Chick-fil-A and they're on the lease line at McAllister Square because she's got a very outgoing personality.
Yeah, she does.
And so Don Ball, who was a franchisee there, was trying to get her to pursue Chick-fil-A as a franchisee. We're a small company. McAllister Square was only the 11th store that they opened.
Really?
In the chain. And so we were a small chain still, and they were trying to really grow from within. And so he kept asking Liz to pursue Chick-fil-A as a franchisee, and she said, but I'd really like to be able to raise a family. And he said, well, tell that guy you're dating, John, to come see me then. And so as I prepared to graduate from college, I had interviewed with some different high schools. That's back in the 70s. Back in the 70s, one of the things, because of all the budget cuts, one of the things that the education system was starting to do, it's hard to look back and really believe this, Paul, but they were cutting back on the arts, teachers in the arts, and of course that included foreign languages. So there was a hiring freeze in Greenville and Anderson counties and all, and so I was looking to stay around because we were serious. And so I went to work at Chick-fil-A and fell in love with it.
Why? What was there about it?
Oh, the culture. It was a family culture. You got to meet the founder of the business. It's just a unique culture. It was a franchisee who cared about his staff and who got involved in the community. And so as I fell in love with it, he started talking to me about it. And so he said, come work for me full time, and I did. And so I sent in my resume to Chick-fil-A Incorporated, and we went down and interviewed.
You and Liz?
Liz and I, we were not married at the time. We went down and interviewed. And back then, they were in a little trailer in Hateville, Georgia, probably a half a mile from the Dwarf House, the original Dwarf House. And then 6 weeks later, I received a phone call. And on July 1st, 1979, I was in Greenville, North Carolina, trying to prepare to open a restaurant. We opened August 1st, so.
In North Carolina?
North Carolina, in Greenville, North Carolina. And we were there for 5 years. And so my parents living out of the country overseas, we're not going to have the opportunity to really influence our children. And so we wanted to get closer to Liz's parents. We came and we opened the first franchise in the Anderson Mall. There was correspondence actually back to 1967 where Anderson Mall had been corresponding with Chick-Fil-A, trying to get Chick-Fil-A to come to the Anderson Mall. So with the expansion, we opened up, and we've loved being in Anderson ever since.
What's there about the community that endeared it to you and Liz?
I believe one of the things was just everyone's so friendly. We love the small town community. We were 2 hours from Atlanta, 2 hours from Charlotte. If you want to go to a big event, you can. But just the way the community just really gets involved and is just so encouraging, so supportive of education, so supportive of business. It's been a great, great time. We've never, ever thought of leaving Anderson, South Carolina, because at the time when Chick-fil-A was growing, the place to be was in the larger metropolitan areas. That's where the higher volume opportunities were. Atlanta, Charlotte, Greenville, those areas like that.
When you started, did you have any idea you would expand to 2 more Chick-fil-A's in Anderson and your presence at Anderson University?
Oh, never. Chick-fil-A, Truett Cathy's philosophy was you're going to have one restaurant. We want you to be involved in the community. We want you to be involved in the lives of your team members. And so because of that, it was going to be one restaurant. What ended up happening was we started losing some real innovative franchisees because they didn't have the opportunity to continue to grow their business. And I think that caused Mr. Cathy to reevaluate. The expansion began near all of the retail centers because it was the era of the malls. That's where the action was. And so even the freestanding restaurants were right outside the malls. And so Truett wanted to make sure that he wasn't bringing new franchisees in that were going to take business from the people that had established the brand in the cities in which they were. They came in, looked at our business, our training. Did we have the capacity to operate more than one restaurant? And so we passed the test. We've had some great staff that made that possible. And because of that, we expanded to 2 restaurants. Now everything shifted from the larger metropolitan areas to the smaller communities because you're in a small community. There was room for a 3rd restaurant, and you had one single franchisee that had built the brand in that small community,
right,
like an Anderson. And so out of respect, Truett allowed a few of us to do that. And that number grew from 3 people to now it's about 10 of us in the chain that have 3 restaurants. And the majority of those folks that have those 3 restaurants are in smaller communities.
Our guest is Jon Holmes. We're at the Chick-fil-A on Greenville Street, and when we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with him. You recently were recognized in Atlanta for an achievement that not many franchisees with Chick-fil-A have achieved. Tell me what that was.
Well, part of the reason why they haven't achieved it is because I'm young, or I was young when I started. I was 21 years old when I started as a Chick-fil-A franchisee. And because of that, at that time, because we were a young company, a lot of the franchisees that came on board were on a second career, maybe ex-military guys that were coming. So they were coming in their 40s. So many of my dear friends have passed on, retired. And so we've been doing this for 40 years. And during that 40-year time, we've had thousands and thousands of team members that have come through our organization. And that's what keeps me engaged and just really excited about the business, Paul. The vision that we have for our business is grow leaders to change the world. We've had some folks that have left us and have gone on to become surgeons, attorneys, accountants, school teachers, Chick-Fil-A franchisees.
How many of those?
We've had 14 that have become Chick-Fil-A franchisees, and that's really helped us tremendously because we've been able to attract young entrepreneurs at heart, and we've been able to grow them and develop them. And when you have someone like that that's really engaged in your business and wants to grow your business, then it's just so much fun helping them get to where they want to be and become a franchisee themselves.
What do you look for and what kind of person do you hire? Because a lot of kids wouldn't qualify.
We're very selective. Character is very, very important. We want people that are engaged in their schools. We want people that are engaged in their communities, because if they're going to be engaged in different activities in their schools, the different clubs, if they care about their grades, all that's very important to us. We carry a large staff because we're so flexible with our scheduling. And so we want kids that have high character. We want kids who want to make a difference in their community. We look at report cards. We want to know about their attendance at school. All that's very, very important to us because we want to develop the whole individual so that as they leave, whether they want to be a Chick-fil-A franchisee or whether they want to be an Air Force pilot,
Right.
We just want to prepare them for that. And so we'll do a strength sort with everyone that we've hired and try to put them in a position to where we're preparing them for what their vocation is that they have in mind, their goals in mind. One of the things that Chick-fil-A really has encouraged us as franchises to do is to share our best practices. Me and another franchisee went out to Houston because we had heard what they were trying to do out there, trying to speed up the drive-thru because of the big oil boom. And so with that big oil boom came longer lines in the drive-thrus at Chick-fil-A. And so they were using cell phones at the time. The sooner we can take that order in the drive-thru, the sooner we can send it into the kitchen, the sooner they can prepare it, the sooner we can get that guest through our drive-thru. And speed and convenience has become the major thing that our guests want now. Chick-fil-A started working with Apple and some of these different folks and trying to get the iPads to merge with our software. And we were able to do that. So now we're out there with 3 and 4 people taking it so that we can speed it up. And what's caused this, Paul, has been our brand grew so fast in such a short time that we had built restaurants on smaller lots than what we needed. We didn't know that at the time. And so now we're going back and we're building bigger restaurants, we're building smaller dining rooms and larger kitchens because the drive-through and convenience has become what our guests want. So as our drive-through lines have increased, our dining inside has not necessarily decreased, but we're putting more emphasis on building a larger kitchen. The Chick-fil-A brand has always, from the very early years with Truett Cathy, has always strived to be a brand that cares. And that is really come to the forefront. That's what we want to be known as a brand that cares, not just in the United States, but we're about to go international. We're opening in Toronto in August. We care for everyone, whether it's someone that has of a different religion, someone that has different social beliefs, color, race. We care. We care for everyone, and that's what we want to make sure that people know, and that's what's helped our brand grow.
Will Chick-fil-A ever open on Sunday?
No.
We talked about it earlier about some big, huge changes Chick-fil-A in Anderson, including one, the Greenville store is coming down.
Anderson County guests have been so good, so supportive of our organization, our restaurants. We realize we've got to make some changes. And so the Clemson Boulevard location has been a frustrating experience for so many folks and been so supportive, and I really, really appreciate the patience that Anderson County's had with us. So we are moving. We are moving across Clemson Boulevard next to the Golden Corral there at the corner of Fritz Drive and Clemson Boulevard.
Where the granite place is, they sell granite there on that
That's
corner.
right. They sell granite there currently. And we've already started our environmental work there. And Anderson City and Anderson County has been so supportive. The folks in the permitting department and in that area, I want to give just kudos to them. They have been very, very helpful, to the point to where our plan was to open next September of 2020. We've been able to move up, and our plan now is hoping to be open by the end of June or the 1st of July of 2020. What we're doing at Greenville Street is we are going to expand it to have 2 drive-through lanes, so we're going to be able to put more cars in the queue. We're going to be closed for 7 weeks. We're going to gut the kitchen, gut the dining room, have a total new look inside, total new look outside. We're going to be closed for those 7 weeks, and we're trying to coordinate that with our new opening, the re-grand opening of Clemson Boulevard, so that our staff is going to be able to slide from Greenville Street, go over and help there. We will close that restaurant on Clemson Boulevard on a Saturday night, and we will reopen on the next Thursday with a re-grand opening. So we've got a lot of things. 2020 is not going to be a year for me to be on vacation, that's for sure.
What's going to happen to the old location, do we know, at Chick-Fil-A on Clemson Boulevard?
The old location on Clemson Boulevard, we will eventually sell it, but right now the plan is, my plan is to try to keep it open a few months to catch the overflow from our re-grand opening and use our team members from Greenville Street over there during that time. And then everyone, it's going to be a seamless transition is what we're hoping for.
And if you can pull that off, nobody's going to be out of work at Chick-fil-A.
Exactly. Nobody will be out of work at Chick-fil-A. And even if we get to that point, we'll take care of our team. Anderson's been so good to us, Paul. The community has always backed us. The community has been very supportive. We're really grateful for all of the parents that have entrusted their children in our care and sent them to work with us. And it's because of that, those great folks, that we've been able to do what we've been able to do. It's exciting for us to be able to have an impact on the youth of Anderson.
How much longer are you and Liz going to hang in there?
Oh, wow. We're going to continue to do this. We really are. I mean, think about what we're about to get started with. A new restaurant building, and then totally remodeling and the other one. And so we're just getting started. We really are. We're excited about the future.
I've known a lot of missionary kids in my tenure, but I've never met a missionary kid who ended up a millionaire.
Oh, I don't think I'm going to end up a millionaire.
But you're close.
But I tell you what, when our children all turn 5, our grandchildren turn 5, we take them to Disney World. We take the whole clan. So my 5-year-old, I had him over at one of the little shops in Disney World. He wanted one of those little suckers, and so they got him this big old sucker, and the lady said, that'll be $3.29. And he looked at her as seriously as he could, Paul, and he said, that's no problem. See that man right there? He's got millions. So, anyway.
Jon, thanks for sharing your story with us.
Thank you.
Our guest has been Jon Holmes, franchisee of Anderson, 3 stores, just celebrated 40 years with the company and made the announcement that they're going to be doing some major changes at Chick-fil-A in Anderson. We want to thank him for sharing, and we want to thank each of you for tuning in and invite you to be back with us next week, same time, for our next edition of Conversations with Paul Brown. Until then, take care, everybody.
Is that going to be all for you today?
Yes, please.
And it'll be our pleasure to serve you at the tent up there.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Have a nice day.